of remembrance for traffic crash victims, traffic violence victims. Just a little context, this event was started 25 years ago by the United Nations. It's endorsed by the World Health Organization. Right now, over 50 communities throughout the country are doing exactly what we're doing right now. And why is that? That's because there really is not a person who isn't affected by traffic violence, by crashes, by the kinds of quality of life issues that are affected by the way our streets are constructed. So we have a few speakers today, so I'm going to say a few words to open us up, and then Ella is going to speak. Ella has been absolutely a remarkable person, traffic safety advocate, has started a blog. She'll maybe talk a little bit about that. We also have Sasha, who is a victim of traffic violence, who's going to say a few words. And then we also have Abe, you can tell, is joining us. He's one of our county legislators, very staunch traffic safety advocate. And also Phil is going to join us when he can. Anyone else who might feel compelled to share some words or want to say anything about anyone they may have lost or want to remember anyone in particular, please feel free to chime in. So we gather today to remember those who aren't with us today, those whose lives were brutally and pointlessly cut short by the preventable scourge of traffic violence. Locally and nationally, we're facing an unprecedented health crisis, which affects virtually every aspect of our life, but is barely discussed. More and more people are dying on our roads every day, and more of those who are dying are not even in a car. They're walking and biking. They're just trying to get by. Sadly, the epidemic of traffic crashes is one that unites us all. People of every faith, every neighborhood, every race, every class, every age, every political affiliation, every ability. All of these people are hit by traffic violence and this issue. Of course, it is important to remember that just like anything else, unfortunately, in this world, when we look at the intersections, of course, what we see is that people of color are 4 times more likely to be the victims of a traffic violence incident. Older people, our children, and disabled people are also at exponentially higher risk for traffic safety issues. So every day across the globe, approximately 3,700 people are killed. Over 40,000 Americans, 46 as per the last numbers that just came out in 2021, were killed in this country alone. The numbers are rising, and for the first time in half a century. So this is indeed a public health epidemic, one which knows no boundaries. Today, Ulster County is joining the UN and cities around the world, memorializing those who've been killed and calling for safe streets to ensure that not one more life is lost. We've had enough funerals, enough doctor's visits, enough broken bones and broken lives. We know it does not have to be this way. We are calling on county leaders, we are calling on corporate leaders, we are calling on everyday citizens to step up and say that nothing less than 0 is acceptable when it comes to traffic crashes and traffic fatalities. So let us just pause for a moment, and I'm going to read the names of just a few of the people who have died in Ulster County in the past 5 years or so, since 2016. This number is actually triple the number. I couldn't find every single name, because funny enough, you can look up the crash, but often the name isn't there. So, in no particular order, Jonte Clark, 26. Adam McQueen, 22. Kareem Meeks, 24. Dante Crump, 22. Daryl Savage, 57. Justin Boyd, 33. Monica Goods, aged 11. Richard Dams, 40. Brian Jones, 41. Jamie Miguel, 36. John Lynch, 57. Jennifer Curry, 17. Devin Griffiths, I don't know his age. Raymond Williams also did not know the age. Haley Winfrey, 19. We know what works. According to the United Nations, effective interventions including safer design and infrastructure and incorporating road safety features and improving safety features of vehicles, enhancing post-crash care for victims and for road crashes and setting rules and laws that reduce risk, and most of all, raising public awareness. We know what doesn't work also. So tactics that further exacerbate issues of institutional racism, like redlining planning and aggressive enforcement, like high-speed police chases that claim the life of 11-year-old Monica Goods, do not work, and they do not make the road safer for anyone. Nor does ticketing and penalizing the most vulnerable people. Part of the reason why we chose Ulster Avenue is that a man was struck trying to get across the street. That same very road that we needed a police escort to just get down. Police deemed that because he couldn't make it safely across the street, that man should be ticketed in a place where there's no crosswalks and no crossing signals. So we're asking the county, we're asking law enforcement, we're asking everybody to please do better, to please live up to the very lofty ideals and beautiful ideals actually that were set a few years ago in terms of making this a greener space, making this a more accessible space, but we need to talk more about making it a safer space.
Yeah.
For everybody.
Yeah. Thank you, Rose. Woohoo! Thank you, Rose. Hi, Ella.
Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
I'm not a loud talker. Okay. Here's my statement. My heart is broken just hearing and thinking about these tragic losses to traffic violence in our community. I send my love to the victims of traffic violence in our community and to their families and friends. And as Rose just read many of the names, I didn't have all the names, but I do know we lost 3 cyclists, Daryl Savage, John Post Lynch, and Devin Griffiths, in just 1 year in sudden, violent, and senseless ways. We have been conditioned to accept these kinds of deaths as collateral damage, but I think the fact we are all gathered here today shows that their lives were important and their deaths are meaningful to us. And what is clear is that these deaths could have been prevented if our priorities were more oriented towards protecting and nurturing human life. I also want to mention that today is the Transgender Day of Remembrance, and last night there was a horrific shooting at an LGBTQ nightclub in Colorado. I send my love to victims of violence today also, and their families and friends. And I want to mention the connection between victims of transgender violence and victims of traffic violence, which is that these lives are viewed as expendable by those in power. And here's the reality. The movement and storage of cars is considered more important than the safety and well-being of people. And that's the reality. All you have to do to verify that is look around. I think it's disturbing. Because the movement and storage of multi-ton vehicles is prioritized safety and well-being of people, the streets are not safe enough for children, let alone adults, to use. And the fact that the streets are not safe enough for adults or children to use is a choice. It's a choice that is made during the street design process, and it's reinforced by elected leaders who sign off on the designs. Even some of the very leaders who consider themselves to be bike advocates continue to perpetuate the value system, which values car speeds and driver convenience over the lives and well-being of people. This is true at the local, state, and federal levels of government, as well as in the bodies that create the engineering standards and the engineers who design the streets. You will hear excuses. They will say there's no room for a bike lane or a bus shelter or a signalized crosswalk. But if they were going to be honest, they would admit that their underlying values consider the movement and storage of cars to be more important than safety, well-being, and accessibility for people.
Yeah.
That is simply not acceptable. Why is it that even when we get millions of dollars for safe routes to school and complete streets funding, we still can't get a damn bike lane installed so children can safely bike to school?
Yeah.
It boils down to the fact that the convenience of drivers is more important than safety and well-being of children. Education only gets us so far. Wearing bright colors only gets us so far. Police enforcement only gets us so far. The founder of Vision Zero, a movement to eliminate traffic deaths, said, "No amount of police presence can overcome road designs and policies that simply don't work well enough."
Right.
And of course, relying on police to be a band-aid over problems created by bad street design only increases the risk of inequities such as racial profiling. Thanks for listening. I think that's almost good. Okay. So people are vulnerable.
Take your time.
Alright. Okay. Rather than designing the streets for cars and then seeing where we can squeeze in some crosswalks and bike lanes, let's design for people first.
Woo! Amen.
Yeah.
Let us make the path
Yes.
with our feet first.
Yeah.
Instead of
Yes.
architects designing it.
We'll lay over the design over that.
Get there, through here, and then put in the grass and the sidewalk.
Look for the desire paths everywhere. So, if you're, I'm almost done. If you're interested in being part of this movement to make safe streets a reality, or if you have an issue with mobility, needs to be addressed, thank you. Please sign the petition, which will also sign you up for our email list. And thank you all for coming out.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Ella.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. And I have a petition right here, so.
I'm Sasha. I go by Sasha's son, and I know Rosemary and you, Sean, was fucking awesome person. And just in general, what she was saying, people in power that shall remain nameless. Just here in Kingston, like in general, like if the sidewalk, if they're working on the sidewalk, where do they put the walkers? Oh, we'll just throw you in the street, and you kind of like are haphazardly walking in the street. Or when the rail trail, or the new bike lanes were just installed, oh, we're blocking those off, so good luck on that main street. And I asked a certain person who's married to a certain person who is in charge of a certain city, and she goes, well, just use, I'm like, but both things, the one rail trail was closed, and I'm like, where am I supposed to go? Oh, but we'll make sure the cars know where they're supposed to go. And then in Holland, this happened, they took the kids, a bunch of kids were hurt riding their bikes, and then they made a beautiful country where I still hope I get to go someday, and you can bike the whole place safely, or it's Moncahock Island or something. It's just for bikers. But aside from that, so I've had a friend of mine, he's a jazz drummer. When he was just, rode, like riding, hours and hours on a bike, somebody hit him, rolled off riding a bike because all my kids have, since we've lived in Kingston, the last 20 years, rode our bikes everywhere through here. But this is in another town. He's in college, and he was hit and run, hit him. He's still alive, and his backpack saved him because he fell off. But still, I mean, as a mom, and I'm not close to, I'm like, what? And then we're coming here, my youngest, who's 8, and we're crossing a street. I'm not going to name all the streets. But, you know, again, like, nobody's really got it in their view, in their head. You know, I know how to drive a car, and if I borrow somebody's car, I'm driving, the first thing I do is I'm going to give that biker, if I can, the whole lane. You know, I just see, and I don't see that. It would just kill me if I killed somebody. And when I was like 9, in 1979, I'm crossing a road that I guess would be like 9W to get home. There's no crosswalks. There were no helmets then. And I'm coming back from something I probably shouldn't have been doing. And as I'm crossing this 18 or 19-year-old in a, one of those topless cars, a convertible, bam, I go flying in the air. It's amazing, right? I land on my head. I remember like all the police came and the ambulance came and I had a big bump on my head. But I'm alive to say it, and I guess, it was for this moment. So anyway, think of Holland is all I can say.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so much for everyone that helped organize it, Rose and Ella, and everyone who participated.